A brittle frost covered the town, turning the bare trees into jagged sculptures of ice. The sun had barely risen, casting a pale glow over the frozen lake that stretched beyond the park's walking trail. Ethan pulled his scarf higher over his nose as his golden retriever, Cooper, bounded ahead, his paws crunching against the snow. It was their morning ritual, one Ethan looked forward to more than anything. He had always preferred the quiet company of Cooper over the noise of school hallways and crowded classrooms. The dog seemed to understand him in ways no one else did. Cooper suddenly froze. His ears perked up, his body tense. Ethan frowned, following his gaze toward the lake. "What is it, buddy?" Ethan whispered, stepping closer. The lake's surface was a flawless sheet of ice, unbroken except for a few faint cracks near the shoreline. Nothing seemed out of place, but Cooper's stance remained rigid. Then, without warning, he bolted toward the ice. "Cooper! No, stop!" Ethan yelled, but the dog didn't slow. Cooper's claws scraped against the ice as he reached the center of the lake, barking furiously at something just beneath the surface. He began digging, his strong paws scratching against the frozen barrier as if trying to reach something below. Ethan's breath curled in the air as he inched forward. He could hear a faint creaking beneath his boots, a warning that the ice was fragile. He dared not go further. "Cooper! Come back!" he pleaded. But the retriever let out a deep, distressed whimper and continued pawing at the ice, his movements growing more frantic. Then, before Ethan could react, the ice gave way beneath Cooper's weight. A thunderous crack split the silence as the dog plunged into the water. A strangled cry escaped Ethan's throat. He lunged forward on instinct but skidded to a stop just inches from the fracture. His heart pounded. The hole in the ice was dark, swallowing Cooper beneath its surface. The dog resurfaced a second later, thrashing wildly, his golden fur slick with freezing water. But he wasn't trying to get out. Cooper was pulling at something beneath the ice. Ethan's pulse thundered in his ears. "Cooper, no, just get out." The dog whined, his teeth clamped around what looked like a small hand. Ethan stumbled back. No. That wasn't possible. Asterisk. A violent shudder ran through him as he scrambled for his phone, his fingers numb as he dialed. The call rang once before a gruff voice answered. "Officer Daniels," the voice said. Ethan's voice was shaky. I think there's someone under the ice." Silence. Then, "Where are you?" "Maplewood Lake. Please, my dog fell in trying to get to them." "I'm on my way." "Stay put." Ethan shoved his phone back into his coat and dropped to his knees near the edge of the lake. "Hang on, Cooper. Just hold on." Cooper wasn't letting go. He paddled furiously, his jaws locked onto the tiny wrist protruding from beneath the ice. The fingers were eerily still, as if frozen in place. Ethan didn't notice the sound of sirens approaching until the flashing lights reflected off the ice. A police SUV skidded to a stop nearby, and Officer Daniels, a burly man in his 50s, jumped out, radio clutched in one hand. He took one look at the scene before cursing under his breath. "Get back, kid." Ethan hesitated. "But Cooper." "Now." Ethan stumbled away as the officer called for backup, his voice sharp and commanding. Within moments, firefighters arrived, hauling thick ropes and ice picks. A rescue diver, bundled in an insulated suit, rushed forward. "I need a temperature reading on that water," one of the responders said. "We have minutes before hypothermia sets in." Daniels moved closer to the hole, his boots skimming the fragile edge. "The dog's got something down there." The diver didn't hesitate. He secured a harness around his waist before lowering himself into the frigid water. Cooper thrashed but refused to let go. It took gentle coaxing before the rescuer could pry the retriever's jaws open. The moment Cooper released his grip, the body surfaced. A collective gasp rippled through the gathered crowd. It was a little girl. Her skin was a ghostly pale, her dark hair fanned out like ink against the ice. The rescuer scooped her up and hauled her out of the water. "Unresponsive," someone shouted. They laid her on the ice, immediately starting CPR. Ethan barely registered the scene as Cooper finally dragged himself out of the hole, his fur dripping. The dog staggered to his feet, whimpering softly as he nudged the girl's arm. Ethan swallowed hard. Cooper had found her. But was he too late? One of the paramedics shouted something, and then a faint, shuddering breath escaped the girl's lips. The crowd exhaled in relief. Pulse is weak, but she's breathing. Ethan felt his legs nearly give out beneath him. The girl was alive. Barely. The paramedics worked quickly, wrapping her in blankets, slipping an oxygen mask over her face before lifting her onto a stretcher. As they wheeled her toward the ambulance, a paramedic caught sight of a small bracelet on her wrist. She brushed away the frost-covered chain and frowned. A single word was engraved on it. Lily. Daniels leaned in. Does anyone know who she is? The onlookers shook their heads. Ethan turned to his mother, who had arrived moments earlier, worry etched into her features. She stared at the girl with an expression Ethan couldn't quite place. Then she murmured, almost to herself, "She looks familiar." Ethan's blood ran cold. Who was this girl? And how had she ended up beneath the ice? The hospital smelled of antiseptic and quiet urgency. Ethan sat on a stiff plastic chair, Cooper curled up at his feet, his golden fur still damp despite the blanket wrapped around him. The rhythmic beeping of monitors filled the air, punctuated by the occasional murmur of nurses passing in the hallway. Across the room, behind a glass partition, Lily lay motionless on the hospital bed. Tubes snaked around her frail body, an oxygen mask obscuring half her face. Her tiny hands rested atop the crisp white sheets, fingers barely twitching. Ethan couldn't look away. He had spent the past hour replaying the moment Cooper had lunged onto the ice, the frantic scratching, the sudden plunge. The memory felt surreal, like a scene from a movie rather than something he had witnessed firsthand. A hand rested on his shoulder. "She's stable," Officer Daniels said gruffly, his broad frame looming over Ethan. "Doctors say if she had been in that water any longer. Well, let's just say your dog saved her life." Ethan swallowed hard and looked down at Cooper. The retriever's tail thumped weakly, but he made no move to lift his head. He was exhausted. "She was under the ice," Ethan murmured. "How did she even get there?" Daniels sighed. "That's what we're trying to figure out." Ethan's mother, Claire, stood near the doorway, arms crossed. She hadn't said much since arriving at the hospital. Now, she stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "Officer," she said quietly. "That bracelet. Are you sure it said Lily?" Daniels gave her a sharp look. "Yeah. You recognize the name?" Claire hesitated. A shadow crossed her face, something close to recognition, asterisk, but also fear. Asterisk. I think so," she admitted. "Years ago, there was a little girl named Lily who went missing." Daniels stiffened. "Missing?" Claire nodded. "It was a huge story back then. A kidnapping case. The family lived in town, but after she disappeared, they moved away. They never found her." Ethan's breath caught. He looked at the girl through the glass, her fragile chest rising and falling in slow, shallow breaths. "You're saying," he trailed off, the words too big to form. Daniels muttered a curse under his breath. "I need to make a call." He turned sharply, pulling out his phone as he strode down the hall. Ethan turned to his mother. "Why didn't you say something earlier?" Claire exhaled. "I wasn't sure. I mean, it's been years, Ethan. I barely remember the details. But seeing her," she shook her head. "If it's really the same Lily, then where has she been all this time? And how did she end up under that ice?" Ethan shivered, though not from the cold. Something about this felt wrong, as if they had stumbled upon a secret that was never meant to be uncovered. A murmur from the hospital bed snapped his attention back to the girl. Lily's fingers twitched. Her eyelids fluttered. A sharp beeping sound filled the room as the machines detected the change in her vitals. The door flew open, and a nurse rushed in, followed by a doctor in a white coat. She's waking up, the nurse announced. Ethan stood, his heart hammering. Lily's lips parted, a soft, cracked whisper escaping. Dark. The doctor leaned in. Sweetheart, can you hear me? You're safe now. Lily's breath hitched. Her lashes lifted, revealing wide, glassy eyes. She blinked sluggishly, unfocused at first, until her gaze locked onto Cooper. A choked sound came from her throat. She struggled to sit up, reaching weakly toward the dog. Cooper lifted his head, ears perked. With great effort, he dragged himself closer, resting his chin on the edge of the hospital bed. A tear slipped down Lily's cheek. Dog, she whispered. Ethan felt something constrict in his chest. The doctor smiled gently. That's right. He saved you. Lily's fingers trembled as she reached out, brushing against Cooper's damp fur. Then her entire body tensed. Her breathing turned sharp, erratic. The machines beeped in alarm. The doctor pressed a hand to her shoulder. It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe. But Lily's eyes filled with terror. She jerked upright, gripping the doctor's wrist with surprising strength. Her voice was raw, barely more than a rasp. No. I'm not. The doctor frowned. Lily, what do you mean? The girl's hands clenched into fists. Her small frame shook violently. He's coming. The room went still. Ethan felt ice creep up his spine. Who? Lily turned toward him then, her eyes dark and hollow with fear. The monitor beside her bed beeped wildly as her breathing turned ragged. And then, just as suddenly as she had woken, she screamed. The hospital room erupted into chaos. Lily's scream was raw, piercing, the sound of pure terror. The heart monitor blared in protest as her small body convulsed against the sheets. The doctor barked orders, nurses rushed forward, but Lily's frantic eyes locked onto Ethan. He's coming, she gasped. You don't understand. He knows. Ethan's stomach twisted. Who, Lily? He urged, stepping closer. Who's coming? But she didn't answer. She couldn't. Her breath hitched, her face contorted in pain, and then, her body went completely still. The monitor let out a single, high-pitched wail. A nurse shoved Ethan back as they worked furiously to stabilize her. A doctor shouted for more hands. And then, as if the moment itself had snapped in two, the sound cut off. The machines whirred softly. The tension in the room thickened, heavy with unspoken fear. Lily was unconscious again. Ethan barely registered his mother grabbing his arm, guiding him out of the room as the medical staff swarmed in. His legs moved on autopilot, his mind racing. She had been awake for less than a minute. And yet, in that time, she had managed to warn him. Ethan turned to Claire, his voice hoarse. Mom, did you see her face? She wasn't just scared, she was. He swallowed hard. She was terrified. Claire exhaled slowly. I know. Officer Daniels stormed down the hallway toward them, his expression grim. I just got off the phone with missing persons, he said. You're not gonna believe this. Ethan's pulse pounded. Is it really her? Daniels nodded. Lily Carter. Kidnapped 7 years ago. The weight of it crashed over Ethan. 7 years. But she looks younger than me, he said. Like, way younger. She should be, 13? Daniels clenched his jaw. She's supposed to be. Ethan's skin prickled. What do you mean, supposed to be? Daniels hesitated. Then he lowered his voice. The doctors ran some preliminary tests while she was unconscious. Based on her physical condition, they estimate her age to be no more than 8 years old. Ethan's stomach dropped. That's impossible, Claire whispered. Daniels shook his head. I don't know what the hell is going on, but that girl was taken when she was 6. She should be 13. Instead, it's like... He let out a slow breath. It's like she hasn't aged. A heavy silence settled over them. Ethan's gaze drifted back to the glass partition, to the small, fragile girl lying motionless in the hospital bed. She had been missing for 7 years. But if Daniels was right, if what the doctors said was true, where had she been? And why hadn't she aged? A loud crash down the hall shattered the quiet. Daniels reached for his gun instinctively. Ethan and Claire spun toward the noise. A nurse stumbled into view, her hand clutching her throat. Her eyes were wide, panicked, as she gasped for air. Red smeared across her white uniform. She collapsed. Jesus! Daniels lunged forward. Call for help. Ethan's blood ran cold as his eyes darted past the fallen nurse, *** to the darkened *hallway beyond, ***. A figure stood at the far end. Tall. Motionless. Drenched in shadow. And then, ***, he moved. ***. Not walked. Glided. A slow, deliberate shift forward, like the darkness itself was pulling him along. His silhouette was obscured, but Ethan could make out something horribly wrong with the way he stood. His head slightly tilted, his shoulders unnaturally rigid. Daniels raised his gun. Hey! Stop! The overhead lights flickered. And then, ***, they went out. ***. For a split second, everything was swallowed in pitch-black darkness. Then the emergency lighting snapped on, casting eerie red glows along the walls. The hallway was empty. The man was gone. Ethan's pulse pounded. Where did he? A soft creak echoed behind them. He turned, ***, and froze. ***. The glass partition. The room where Lily lay. The door was open. Daniels reacted first, lunging inside, gun drawn. But there was no sign of an intruder. Only the steady beep of monitors, the soft rustling of sheets. Lily was gone. Ethan's breath came in sharp gasps as he sprinted through the hospital corridor, his pulse pounding like war drums in his ears. The emergency lights bathed everything in an ominous red glow, casting long, twisted shadows along the walls. Lily was gone. Vanished. Officer Daniels had already called for backup, his voice strained as he barked orders into his radio, but Ethan didn't have time to wait. He had to find her. He turned the corner and froze. The air felt wrong. Heavy. A strange, electric charge crackled through his skin, like the static before a storm. And then, ***, he saw it. ***. At the end of the hallway, past the rows of empty hospital rooms, a door was open. Not just any door. The stairwell. A chill slid down his spine. The emergency alarms hadn't gone off. That door was supposed to be locked. Ethan took a step forward, and the overhead lights flickered. Once, twice, then darkness. For a split second, the world was nothing but black silence. Then, ***, a whisper. ***, low, hollow. Right behind him. She doesn't belong to you. Ethan spun, heart hammering, but, ***, nothing. The lights snapped back on. The hallway was empty. He didn't stop to think. He ran. The stairwell door slammed open beneath his touch, revealing the spiraling descent into darkness. Somewhere below, faint footsteps echoed, quick, desperate. Lily. Ethan lunged forward, his shoes pounding against the concrete steps. Lily, he shouted, his voice raw. I'm coming. No response. But the footsteps stopped. Dead silence. Then, ***, a sound that made his blood freeze. ***. A slow, deliberate creak. Not footsteps. Not running. Something was moving, shifting in the shadows just below, waiting for him to follow. Ethan hesitated for the first time. Then, ***, a sharp cry. ***. Lily. No more thinking. He charged down the stairs, taking them 3 at a time. The space around him seemed to shrink, the air tightening like invisible hands around his throat. The last step gave way to a long, dimly lit hallway. The basement. And there, standing at the farthest end, was Lily. She was trembling, her small hands gripping the edge of a metal door. Her eyes were wide with terror. Behind her, the door was cracked open, revealing pure blackness. Ethan skidded to a stop. "Lily, come here. Now." Her lips parted, but no words came out. And then, something moved behind her. A shape. A figure. Emerging from the darkness like ink spilling into water. Tall. Twisted. Wrong. Asterisk. It didn't walk. It flowed. Ethan's stomach lurched. That thing had been watching them the entire time. "Lily, run!" he shouted. But she didn't. She turned her head ever so slightly. And Ethan saw her face. Tears streaked her cheeks. But she wasn't looking at him anymore. She was looking past him. A cold breath washed over Ethan's neck. And then, a hand closed around his wrist. Pain. Blinding, white-hot pain. It felt like ice and fire clawing under his skin at the same time, burning straight through to the bone. Ethan screamed. His knees buckled. His vision blurred. Lily moved. Not toward him. Toward the thing in the doorway. Lily, no. Ethan tried to reach for her, but his body wouldn't obey. Lily stepped into the dark. The metal door swung shut. And then, silence. The pain in Ethan's wrist vanished. The hallway was empty. Lily was gone. The only thing left was the faint imprint of her small, trembling voice. "I'm sorry,"